Welcome to the Tourism Hub podcast, the place where we ignite excellence, ignite ideas, amplify voices, and empower businesses in tourism and beyond to create a lasting impact. I'm Despina Karatzias, your host and your biggest cheerleader in business, in tourism, and the art of business and tourism and storytelling and all the good stuff. And this podcast is very proudly brought to you by instituteofexcellence.com, where we help businesses not just show up, but level up and, to a point, show off, creating experiences that are making a difference, showing places, spaces, people, and stories that need to be shown and experienced. On the back of 2025 International Women's Day this week, today I want to talk about a woman who knew exactly what it meant to make an impact. A woman who painted her truth so vividly that she became immortal, and here we are still talking about her decades after her passing. A woman who didn't just leave a legacy, she built a revolution with her art, with her words, and her unwavering spirit, and of course, action in caps. That woman is Frida Kahlo, and this year she has arrived here in Victoria, Australia, in the regional destination of Bendigo. Yes, to join the likes of exhibitions like Elvis and Marilyn Monroe at Grace Kelly, the Bendigo Art Gallery is now hosting one of the most anticipated exhibitions of the year. And I can't think of a better time than the week of International Women's Day to celebrate her story. Because Frida didn't just exist. She transformed everything she touched, and she did it in a way that still moves and inspires us. Born on July 6, 1907, Frida lived a life that was as tragic as it was triumphant. She endured a near-fatal bus accident at age 18. She had over 30 surgeries. She experienced heartbreak, political exile, and unimaginable physical pain. And yet, she went on to still create some of the most powerful, visceral, and defiant artwork the world has ever seen. She died, my age now, at just 47 years old. But in those years, she gave us a legacy that still feels so alive and raw today. And much to my delight, Frida is also currently playing on Netflix. Now, I remember first watching this when it came out in 2002, 23 years ago, and really Salma Hayek. And this movie is why I know about Frida in the first place and why I'm so excited that she's coming to our shores in this exhibition at the Bendigo Art Gallery. Now, seeing it pop up on my Netflix only this last few days, I did watch it again, and I was just again struck by the sheer intensity of Frida's world, her passion, her politics, her art, and her pain throughout all of that. And the film doesn't just, tell Frida's story. It feels like her paintings come to life, vibrant, surreal, and, this unapologetic rawness to them. And it made me wonder, really, did Netflix time this re-release in response to Frida's exhibition coming to Bendigo? Because if they did, brilliant move. If they didn't, well, it's one of those moments of synchronicity that I reckon Frida herself would have appreciated just as much as I did popping up. I felt like it was telepathy because I've been thinking I really want to watch that movie again, and boom, there it was. What this also did, it got me thinking a little bit deeper. What is it about Frida that still commands so much interest and respect? And more importantly, how can we take that same bold Frida energy and apply it into our businesses and into our work and the experiences that we create? Now, couple all of this with the theme of this year's International Women's Day being accelerating action. And thinking about Frida and thinking, well, Frida didn't wait for that perfect moment. She created it. She didn't wait to be called to act. She acted. And to a point, neither should we. So if you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, a creative, or a leader in tourism, wherever you are on this journey, buckle up, because this particular episode is all about how you can start to take your vision, your brand, your idea, your business to a Frida-like level with your own bold, unapologetic, accelerated action. All right. Now, Frida Kahlo's life was a masterclass in resilience when a tragic accident at 18 really literally shattered her body. She found herself bedridden for months. So when we talk about crisis into an opportunity, instead of surrendering to this pain and giving up, she picked up a brush. She turned her suffering into self-expression. She made that canvas her voice. Just like for many of us, we make our businesses and our work our voice. Frida didn't just paint her images, she painted emotions, truth and defiance. She painted her way into history. But here's the thing, Frida wasn't alone in this boldness. Throughout history, women and men have done the same. Each in their own way, each of us in our own way, in different fields, across different generations. Their stories, they're to teach us one thing. Waiting is not an option. Action is. Now, as a mother of 2 daughters, I find myself constantly searching for ways to empower, inspire, and equip them, even in the teenage years, with the tools that they need to navigate this world with confidence and courage. One of the most treasured books I've ever bought my girls is The Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. Such a beautiful collection of stories and illustrations about women in history who defied expectations, shattered barriers, and they really changed the course of history. That here we are, some have passed on and we're still talking about them, and my girls will speak of them to their daughters and granddaughters. Now, I realized quickly that this book wasn't just for them. It was also for me too. And this book isn't just a bedtime story. It also is a call to inspired action. It reminds me that every step that I take today, every business I build, every bold decision that I make is not just for me. It's for them and for their daughters and your daughters and nieces and granddaughters. It's for the next generation of rebel girls who will continue to shape the world. Take Amelia Earhart, that features in the book, the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic. Everyone told her it was impossible, that women didn't belong in the cockpit, that the sky was no place for her. But she accelerated action. She took flight and proved them all wrong. She didn't just break records, she broke barriers, showing women they didn't have to stay grounded by society's expectations. Then there's Wangari Maathai, the first African woman to win the Nobel Prize. She didn't just dream of a greener Kenya, she took action. She started the Green Belt movement, an initiative that planted over 50 million trees and empowered women across Africa to take charge of their land, their environment, and their futures. She saw a problem and didn't wait for permission to fix it. And let's talk about Malala Yousafzai. who at just 15 years old was shot by the Taliban for daring to speak out about a girl's right to education. But did that stop her? No, it made her louder. It made her stronger. Malala took what could have silenced her forever and turned it into a global movement for education, earning her a Nobel Prize at just 17 years old. These women didn't wait. They acted. They didn't let obstacles define them. They used them as fuel. They understood that hesitation is a form of self-sabotage and that the only way forward is through action. So, what does that mean for us? It means we also need to stop waiting for permission, stop waiting for the economy to improve, for more time, for the right moment, for the universe to align. The right moment is when we decide to move. The right moment is when we choose to move, when we embrace kinesis. Kinesi, the Greek word for movement, a force that propels us forward, driven by inspiration, challenge, or necessity. In biology, kinesis describes movement in response to a stimulus. In life, it is no different. The spark of an idea, the urgency of a challenge, and the pull of a dream are our stimuli. The moment we act, we transform that energy into momentum, change, and something far more significant than ourselves, because progress doesn't wait. It moves with those bold enough to step forward. And that's what we're really diving into. 5 bold, fearless ways to tap into your Frida and these inspirational rebel girls to accelerate action in business, tourism, leadership, in anything and any project that you got going on that you need to just put your foot on it, put the pedal to the metal. So let's start with sales, shall we? A lot of people think sales is about pushing a product or a service or an experience, but it's not. Sales is about storytelling. You've heard the saying, tell it, don't sell it, about inviting people into a world they want to be a part of. Frida's art wasn't just about paint on a canvas. It was her soul, her truth, her invitation for people to see the world through her eyes. The same applies to any business, especially in the business of experience. If people don't connect with our stories, they won't invest in what we're offering. Think about Madame C.J. Walker, America's first self-made female millionaire. She didn't just sell hair products. She sold empowerment, confidence, and independence to Black women at a time when society was telling them they had no place in business. She once said, "I am a woman who came from the cotton fields of the South. From there, I was promoted to the wash tub. From there, I was promoted to the cook kitchen. And from there, I promoted myself into the business of manufacturing hair goods and preparations." That's what made her brand unstoppable. She didn't rely on waiting for customers. She built a movement around her mission, proving that sales aren't just about transactions. They're about creating a transformation. Then comes marketing. Frida understood this before marketing was even a formal concept in our universe. She was her brand. The way she dressed, the way she posed, the way she presented herself. It was all intentional. She didn't just create art. She became the art. That's why she remains so iconic still to this day. The same is true for brands that stand the test of time. You think of Oprah, for example, our girl Oprah. We don't even need to say her surname. She built an empire not by selling products, but by creating deep emotional connections with people. She made her audiences feel seen, feel heard, feel understood. And that's why her following is still so fiercely loyal today. She didn't rely on gimmicks. She relied on authenticity. Oprah once said, "What you do for yourself is done for yourself, but what you do for others is done for the world." That's the secret to marketing that lasts. It's not about selling to people. It's about serving them. It's about creating something so valuable they can't help but talk about it. And speaking of connection, let's talk about visitor experience. The most unforgettable experiences aren't about what people see or buy. They're about how people feel. When someone walks into your hotel, your tour, your restaurant, your experience, your shop, what's the story we're telling them? Are they just another customer? Or do they feel welcome? Do they feel like we're grateful for their presence, that they're stepping into something meaningful, something curated just for them? Mary Barra, the CEO of General Motors, transformed GM by shifting the focus to customer experience. She believes that the definition of innovative and innovation is providing value to the customer. Full stop. Because when you create something people want to return to, they do. And when they return, they consequently bring this with them. Let's talk about the backbone of it all, operations. Without structure, without systems, even the best ideas collapse. And I know what you're thinking, but I don't have time for systems. I have a business to run. Exactly. And that's why we all need them. Yours truly also accounted for that. Because when things go wrong, and they will, also yours truly, as can attest to that, we need to be prepared. Sarah Blakely, for example, the founder of Spanx, learnt this lesson the hard way. She once shared that if I knew then what I know now, I would have done better due diligence on key manufacturers from the beginning. In the early years, one of her manufacturers went under and gave her only 4 days' notice. 4 days. Imagine having to unravel and create that solution to that problem when your entire business has less than a week to solve a manufacturing problem. And that's why systems matter. They don't restrict you. They give you the freedom to focus on that big picture. But what made Sarah Blakely truly successful as one of a few female self-made billionaires, it wasn't just her resilience, it was her ability to challenge the status quo. In an interview with Virgin, she said, in her words, smarter thinking for us at Spanx was always started with asking the question, why? Why can't we do this? And it will turn out we can. Why can't we put shaping inside of jeans? We did. Why does it have to be done this way? It doesn't. It's that level of curiosity, bold thinking, and refusing to accept limits is what accelerates action. It's just not about having a great idea. It's about asking, how can this be done better? What if we did it differently? Those questions are what can drive real change. And finally, let's talk about crisis management, because if there's anything business have in common with life, it's that things will go wrong. Frida knew this. She lived through physical pain, political turmoil, and of course, just heartbreak in her relationships. But she didn't react in panic. She adapted. She painted through it. She created art. And through that, here we are talking about Frida today. The same applies to business. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when she faced discrimination in law school, she didn't just accept it. She strategized, she planned, she built a case so strong that she rewrote the laws that had been holding women back for generations. Her advice, and the best quote that I found from Ruth, fight for the things that you care about. but do it in a way that will lead others to join you, because action isn't just about making change. It's about making change that lasts. And speaking of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, if you want to truly feel the impact of her legacy, as it turns out, another freaky thing I wrote and I read about Ruth, and then I, in my Google search, find that literally this week, another incredible art experience has opened up at the Melbourne Arts Centre, bringing her story to life on stage in RBG. That's what the show called, her initials. Of Many One is what it's called, RBG, Of Many One, which is a powerful play that explores the pivotal moments of her life and her work. So I'm looking to get myself a ticket to this, because it's like, wow, what's another serendipitous moment? So her journey from a young woman fighting for a place in a male-dominated world to Supreme Court justice who changed the course of history is a reminder that resilience, strategy, and bold action can alter the world. It's not just a play, another masterclass at what it means to take action in the face of adversity. So these are 5 ways that we can all accelerate action, not by waiting, not by hesitating, but by stepping boldly into what's next. Because if Frida had waited, if Madame C.J. Walker had hesitated, if Sarah Blakely had stopped questioning the why, they wouldn't have left the legacies that they did to inspire all of us coming after them. The lesson, let's not wait for the world to permit you. Take it, own it, make your mark. So let's wrap up with what's your own kinesis, what's your own kinesi movement. If there's one thing that we've learned from Frida, Amelia, Madame C.J. Walker, and Ruth, it's that action shapes history. These women didn't wait for permission. They didn't sit on the sidelines hoping the world would change. They didn't sit there complaining. They made the move. They ignited the kinesis. The movement turned their visions into legacies. And now it's your turn, my dear friends, because the right moment, it isn't somewhere in the distant future. And now it's your turn, my beautiful tourism brothers and sisters, because the right moment, well, it isn't somewhere in the distant future, waiting for the perfect conditions. The right moment is when we decide to move, when we stop hesitating, stop overthinking, and start stepping into what is next for you. So here's the challenge. Choose one action today. Maybe it's pricing your worth. Maybe it's doing something that tells a part of your story with conviction like Frida. Maybe it's questioning the status quo. Can this be done differently? And who says why not? Or maybe it's fighting for something bigger than yourself, like Ruth. Whatever it is, like let's look at starting something now within the next week. Move forward, create momentum, because the world doesn't just change on its own. It changes when we have kinesi. If this episode, my friends, resonated with you, let me know, share it, subscribe to it, leave a review. You have no idea how, what it does to my energy and my kinesis when I hear someone say that they've listened to this episode and that it resonated in a way, shape, or form and caused you to act. It all just will go a long, long way. And it keeps me coming back to deliver something of value for you. And if you're ready to take bold action in your business, connect over at instituteofexcellence.com with me and check out our range of courses and look at ways that we could potentially work together, because your movement, your kinesi, starts today. Until next time, my friends, be bold, be brilliant, be excellent, and let's all channel our Frida and make your mark.